Today we are going to cover the series I Picked a Hammer to Save the World. I hope you enjoy it and stick with it. The story is about a hero named Tiny who becomes the commander of the 7th Corps of the Demon King's army. He was on the verge of death after defeating the Demon King, but in that situation, the destruction of mankind cannot be stopped, so the last surviving comrade Sword Emperor used his power to send the younger one back in time from being the strongest knight in the past. As an orphan in the slums, he gained new powers that he didn't have in his previous life. Will he be able to save human life from extinction this time? In the world so they can rule the world, but to save mankind from the grip of demons. The 10 strongest knights who guarded the continent went through hell, and all of them spent their entire life force and mind ruined to protect innocents from the demons of the underworld. The continent is now just a vast stretch of corrupted land where millions of bodies can be seen lying on the surface of the earth only due to death, all caused by a single entity, the Demon Commander. Gluttony is behind all these inhumane killings of countless humans on the battlefield, which enrages the strongest knight on the continent. It is tiring how one entity was causing the deaths of millions of innocent humans when small and monster commanders came face to face. As revealed, he admits that Small has the power to be heavy. But it will not be easy for him to kill the monster, it will not be easy to take the life of Gluttony. The words coming out of Gluttony's mouth make Small more angry than ever, and he brandishes his hammer while jumping to kill the Demon Commander. A wall of lightning hits the Demon Commander's hand like a weapon above his head, and at first he thought nothing was going to happen to him. He tried his best and made fun of the younger ones, calling them useless. Hit by a meteorite object, which ended up chopping him in half, the end came at the cost of countless lives, and it left the little one on the brink of death. He was finally out of his mind, and he wondered whether everything was wrong from the beginning and questioned his conscience about whether he made a mistake that pushed him to his limit. Since then, Tiny has had to overcome countless setbacks while progressing at a slower pace than everyone around him. From the very bottom of the night he used to believe in himself that he could overcome complex challenges, but now he is questioning his techniques and methods and wondering if he was making the right choices and paths, so maybe he could have saved everyone on the continent if he was choosing the right path from the beginning. Tiny has only defeated the 7th of all commanders, and he was really something else if the 7th of all commanders has that much power, so how powerful are the other commanders and the Demon King? Honey wonders. All of a sudden the Sword Emperor Asgard sees the Vaughn volunteer slowly dying, but before dying he wanted to ask the little one why he didn't run away from the fight. He knew that Tiny was a slum kid and it must have been very difficult for him to come this far. Tiny says that a man should be self-confident, and he will never run for the love of God's sword. Bad Shah laughs at his answers, and Tiny praises the talent of the younger knight, as he is one of the 10 strongest knights on the continent. The younger feels that he is dying suddenly, and before this happens, the Sword Emperor reveals his daughter's name, Leela, and tells him to give her find and wake up in a familiar. She died protecting her younger brother from childhood next to her sister's body after a ring went missing because her thugs entered the room and kicked the chair, causing her sister's body to fall to the ground. They wanted to sell her body to some sick friends or cut off the organs to make money from her dead body. The little one gets furious, and suddenly some kind of mind flows out of his hands, and he goes to his dead sister's body. Saves TJ from thugs and realizes that he is actually in the past to change the future. Cries out in distress. If the Sword Emperor had sent him a little further, he would have been able to save his sister. He considers this an opportunity to let his sister rest in peace. He remembers to take her to the Sword Emperor. Gone is to take revenge on the man named Bai who killed his sister in her previous birth, barely killing her by severing her spine, but he wants a proper revenge this time. He and his sister are blood, and they all had black eyes and hair. Her sister Irina was the only person who cared for her and didn't avoid her like the others. She said that Tiny reminded her of her lost brother. She was the one. When he gives a proper burial to his sister Emma, who was a friend of Irina's, he feels that something has changed in him after his friend's death. His wounds heal. It didn't take long to recover, as the thugs first killed him and carried away his sister's corpse on his back. He reminds himself that he shouldn't blame himself or get discouraged. always told him to keep his head high. After a month, he reached the place where the wolf and his thugs were staying. He took revenge by smashing the thugs one by one who came before him to stop him. His mind, body, and physical body fused, making him more powerful, but he had to eat 10 times more than a normal person to reach it. With each thug underestimating his little one. A child's body in being alone with no weapons made the confrontation easier for Small, only the Ronners brothers are left. After some time fighting the thugs inside the camp, he brings the Ronners brothers down to fight with him. Challenge is anew, and they realize that Tiny is a mana user. Tiny remembers herself in a past life using people's bodies as a weapon, but her combat master prevents her from fighting in hand-to-hand combat. Instead, he watches the Ronners brothers' movements and dodges their attack. With strong punches, he destroys the pieces of both brothers and proceeds to take his revenge on Honey, the ruler of the invaders. He remembers that he was shocked to learn in his past life that, in addition to being a werewolf, he was a herding tribe. The werewolf was considered the best of the demi-human race, and among them, the pure silver werewolf was special because the wolf was so difficult to kill in its previous birth that the wolf would reach a mere child for its life through its thugs. Gets angry and wants to tear up Tiny's mouth. Tiny makes fun of the little wolf after seeing that he doesn't have silver fur and calls him a puppy. Heidi realizes that something has changed and that he is not the wolf he fought in his previous life. Who beat him more furiously little by little until the wolf came to his senses and became a human again. When the wolf falls to the ground, something falls from his mouth. The one who looks like a stone starts begging for his sister's life, so the little one doesn't kill him. The little one asks the wolf, "What? A beast man like him is in a place like this," and notices the stone on the floor. After touching Strony, he realizes that it is actually a demonic Kel, and suddenly a demonic wolf from the stone in his previous birth is born. Spirit beings by one of his female companions, Estina, from the ranks of the night. He did not know that a spiritual being lived outside of Elvenom. And having heard that animal spirits are rare, she also told him that the quintessence of a spirit is the spirit stone. The werewolf had a precious spirit stone, but it was in a strange state as it was emitting a demonic quality that is usually present in spirit stones. In the memories, the silver wolf creature sees that the invaders with the demonic aura have made people beasts to absorb the soul, and how the leader of the invaders became the wolf boy because soon in this life he could not fully absorb it. To control the spirit, even though she has no knowledge of how to tame the spirit, Estina in her past life told her that if one has a pure spirit and a good mind, then that person can control the spirit. Even children can do this because they have a pure soul. It is revealed that Tiny's mind has regained the rifts on the spirit stone, and thus she is now able to connect with it. Most spirit tamers grow stronger as they increase in strength, and this was the reason Estina was ranked among the best of the 10 knights. Was one of the younger ones named Silver Wolf, the Moon Wolf, and this drove the invasion leader out of his mind. The state leader told him that the demon worshippers were from an organization and revealed that he was only a test subject. But he would not reveal any important information. He couldn't talk about them since the organization cast a spell on his mouth, and he died horribly. A similar incident happened in Tiny's previous life, but he didn't know at the time that he was an animal. New York breaks down the wall of treasure behind him, revealing he knew he had to take the Valentina family ring with him in his past life in order to trust his future ally, the Sword Emperor. For her, so that she could later search for him with that ring and help all those living in the kingdom of Eslan, she knew that she was given the name of Valentina's fairy for the kindness she had received from the younger, while it was time for him to make flowers in each temple. His name is known because of the tradition of the lamb. The outer castle commander of the guards came looking for the little one because he had created a ruckus. "We're looking for a way out." After a small joke, the knight became furious at him, who attacked him small, but since his age is small in mind power, he doesn't want to make the wealth lord his enemy. Still in the troops, they had too many to cover for him to see. Spirit Wolf Lamb was disappointed, but it all went down peacefully when the younger introduced a bribe into the conversation. Then a new owner demanded an event for the night to greet the property lord and pay extra for the night, but the scene the night before leaving reminded him to pay on time if he didn't want to see the anger of the wealth god, but the little one inside was planning something big that was beyond the knowledge of the knight. The previous gang leader had forced the knight to talk about the little one bring anyone who worked in the invader in an hour. Everyone in the invader was horrified to see the corpse of the wool as it was supported by the owner of the property himself. But little did the Lord of Wealth know something that could be blown out of proportion that he could use as leverage. The outer castle commander Lamb was under probation of the whole incident that happened in the invader. All the single shops and stores were closed after the rise of Small as the new invading boss, and God was not making any money. The Lord of Files called Small for a private interview. With the knowledge and experience gained from his past life, he knew that the Ledger property was the fastest way to eliminate God, and all the people living in the raider were allowed to take revenge on the Wolf and Emma for taking their money and treasure to Diane. Told TJ to find her in Diane if it's too hard for him someday, and she thanks him for showing gratitude for Tiny's actions. The red light district invader of the Files is permanently locked away upon Tiny's arrival, and enraged by her attitude inside a Kingdom Lord's palace. The Grandmaster of the Kron Files Order of the Night wants to eliminate the younger one with the permission of a Kingdom Lord by entering a kingdom's chamber. The Lord was surprised by his tiny presence. Tiny's knowledge of manners surprises him in a splendid way. Jim and the volume file. The Baron's estate lord was fat and heavily intoxicated when Tiny met him, even though he was a noble. Tiny led the Duke of Valentina, who was dedicated to supply. The estate lord wanted her to be one of his servants, but he was not happy as he lost his money for her. He was also worried about the young age, as at 13 he could not even think of doing so, which he did, but Small brought the facts to his side, saying that he had saved the estate lord from the Duke of Valentino's crackdown on drugs and prostitution. The estate lord praised Small for his methods because they helped him in the long run. He then questions the younger about the wolf spirit he now controls, which was stolen from the wolf's spirit stone. Shakti was revealed to have a circle around the property god made of demonic energy and to be a dark magician. He was supposed to buy the corpses from the darkness invader. A Kingdom Lord Baron had used to restore Tiny's mind and skills with the help of Khan. Clarified that it will soon reach level 2. Inherited from his parents because now no one would believe him if he said he was the one who developed that little idea that he won the conversation because it would have been impossible to track down his records, but Emperor Lord T.S. guest was coming to verify that. Got a little scared. It seemed he was in the outfit. The wolf said if the guest came after 15 days everything would be as per Tiny's plan, but it would be bad for him. He went as he would come in a week, which made him more irritated and disappointed at the same. The first is running away from the palace, which would make him a wanted man trying to meet the Sword Emperor. The other option is to create a ruckus in the files, in which this place will have everyone's attention, and there will be a high chance of cancellation or postponement of the trip. In the meantime, he will have enough strength to train the Grandmaster, and God adequate training is required to achieve this. He has to burn more food than everyone else, so he eats more than anyone else. He knows that the more he eats, the stronger he becomes, and the desire to eat scares everyone inside the palace. During dinner, a knight named Grant became annoying to Tiny, which ended in a duel between him and Tiny. The Grandmaster was supporting the knight and encouraging him to fight Tiny, though the other knights wanted him not to cause any trouble in the duel, and Tiny and Grant both refused to use any lethal weapons because they did not feel the urgency of underestimating the younger knight Grant's strength. Grant's willpower was not useful in the particular fight, as Tiny was one of the greatest knights on the entire continent, and his techniques were superior to Grant's. Honey jumped onto his back and grabbed his head, which ended with Grant being knocked unconscious, shocking everyone around the fighting pit as Knight was defeated by a mere lunar wolf. Even without the help of the kid, the whole event was more confident than ever, but something weird happened that backfired. The crowd was shocked after the fight ended with Grant and Tiny himself feeling that he had exposed himself and his abilities to a hostile area throughout the event, which was only going to cost him more in the long run, but he had no choice but to do so because the level between them was too great. It was either that or Grant. Tiny had to pour almost his whole mind into that fight, while Grant was very angry and even cared about it when he was young. In that moment, to have a chance to win the battle, Tiny realizes that even though it is easy in this new life, if it were in the previous one, he would have to put in more effort. In his previous life, the mind and body had great differences. Compared to new life, although he physically recovered fairly quickly, his modern recovery was extremely slow compared to the others because he had another chance at life, this time with a fully integrated mind. With this, he can make training harder than ever before, and this can help him be much stronger than in his previous life. He apologizes for the misunderstanding, which is gladly accepted by Tiny the next day when he invites her to dinner so they can enjoy steak together as the beginning of a new relationship. Heine treats the lunch as a snack. Misunderstood because he didn't really feel like he ate anything in the morning. Baron could somehow understand that the destructive power used to defeat Tiny Knight came out of his hunger. But Tiny avoided saying that, granted, it all happened because the knight in the fight let his guard down. Darren notices his politeness in conversation and is very keen on his future. The Baron says it's a shame that a genius like Small has to be mentored. No teacher to give, finally answer the question, making it a real philosopher who questions the Baron about his knowledge of history in table manners. He wonders how a great man despite short black hair and eyes may be, but in reality, Tiny learned all this in his previous life. The Baron then starts talking about a place he conjures up as hell. Someone else also talks about the mysterious person and adds that the person will explain the details when they come, which makes him sound more like a drug addict to Tiny, but the mind circle around the Baron has made him still fine and active. Can't be sure when the demon can get him back, as in a previous life it seemed he was abandoned by the mysterious figure during the battle and thus lost his mind circle Baron, which contained small cores. I must look forward to meeting him, as he is an incredible person who will give him an important position. Heidi appreciates his thoughts and thanks him for his only gratitude. Tiny is, at the same time, the mysterious man in his organization. But there was no need to dig it now because he was about to get ready when he compared the levels of barons and khans with the levels of his previous life because there's so much to go up in this life. He aims to outperform them for his hardcore training in the next 6 days. 3 days later, Tiny's body, despite being smaller, has become much stronger than when he left the manor. His movements are now more fluent, and he realizes that his previous life's large body size may be the issue that has caused him to reconcile the mind and body in the hope of becoming bigger and stronger. The physical body was broken, which caused the most trouble. Proving that being older didn't always mean that whenever the other knights saw the younger one around the pit, they avoided him like he was some kind of there were demons who came from hell around him. Grandmaster Khan asks Choate to follow him and reveals that Choate can only be seen eating or training. Khan tells Choate to be grateful because the Baron held him like this. After examining a high place, he doesn't feel like any armor or weapon is fit for him and asks the Grandmaster if he can get something similar to a sword. Grandmaster Khan reveals that his sword was nothing out of the ordinary, as it was a fantastic artifact made as it grew, and it was made by Rogers, a master of sorts. Khan also says it is out of his league, which tells him that the sword makes him even more fit. It kicks the hell out of the Grandmaster and adds Tiny ferocity to engage in a fight with him to decide who is the better knight. Heine says if he loses the fight, he will finally offer his life. The Grandmaster gets more mad and takes his sword up to hit Kota in the next scene. It can be seen that Kota apologizes to the Grandmaster inside the armory. Demanding, where they both were in the previous scene, he emerges from the army with Grandmaster Khan's huge sword in his hands, and this makes the guards gossip about it for a while. They also heard about the rumors that people were talking about the younger and his abilities, and he heard that the Grandmaster didn't like that people were talking about things as though he felt like the next leader in some other things. Sorry to have Tiny in that injured condition where he can't even walk properly, but he felt that he should not get involved in this matter as it might go against him. The maids of the manor actually prevent Tiny from getting hurt. She was worried, so she asked him how it happened. He explained that the Grandmaster wanted to give him something, but something happened between them that caused him great pain, and she asked him to rest so that he could heal his injuries at night. The Baron asks his butler what happened to the sacrifice, to which he replies by saying that it is already safe. When the Baron asks if Wolfgang's corpse is there again, the butler answers in the affirmative. The Baron is confused by the specific mess that Small has made because he knows nothing about Small and what he might do in the future, but he doesn't want to make his life more difficult. Wanted because Wolfgang's incident didn't really hurt him that much. All he can do is wait for his assistant to arrive so that they both can confirm that Tiny's good rapport alone will pave the way for his success in the future. But there is a problem, as Tiny is not from a family that has the Baron was expecting him. Everyone will pay for the whole thing if that happens, even though the Baron thinks it won't consider the acts and talks along with the past knowledge that the younger has the entire behavior and attitudes alone to look like the younger one belongs to a prestigious family. Moreover, it is quite impossible for a child to beat the knight with mere talent. This only makes sense if the younger one finds out that the family's secret technology not only kills black knights but that his hair and eyes also make him even more special. It looks like the Baron was going to use the little one to prove something, and that thing will help him a lot in the long run. With the excitement of meeting his assistant, the Baron tries to sleep. But he gets a magical warning that gets him out of hell after he was pissed as hell and tried to ignore it, came running with the tiny sword he claimed from the Grandmaster and killed the Baron, turned inside out and stabbed to death, and was found the next morning, the night of the manor. The housekeeper of the manor was shocked to learn that the Baron was, in fact, a black magician. After a priest inspected the scene, it was confirmed that the Baron was definitely a black magician. The priest detected traces of demonic energy, and they have already gone to report the incident to the church as well as the investigators of the royal palace in the manor for their confirmation. It was revealed that the bodies of dark magicians decompose soon after their deaths, and that is the reason why Baron's body looked as if he had died weeks before. They were embarrassed as to why one would forsake one's own lineage of being a great and choose a life that would kill him when, on the night of the file, the Grand felt that if they continued to argue in front of the dead body it would only waste time, and there was another problem with the whole incident, which was the Grandmaster's sword. No one wanted to believe that Grandmaster Khan could do something like this. Few knights in any kingdom felt that the Baron had a case with the Grandmaster being the new Grandmaster. Argued about, who was angry since Khan was a hot-headed person, it was normal for him to do such a thing, but some knights did not agree with the matter as the only reason was that it could only happen if the Grandmaster must have gone completely mad. The fact that the Grandmaster himself was not showing up on his duty made it all the more awkward, and it seemed as if he was the vassal of the manor getting uneasy with every passing moment because they didn't have a clue that what was really going on. They decided to do a little investigation into the matter, so they started asking everyone in a manor with all the maids and the guards giving evidence saying that they all provided that the Grandmaster had beaten the younger one, making him appear calmer, who could be to blame. After asking everyone about the matter, there was only one person left to conclude this incident. It could be that the person himself was younger. He was the last person who met Grandmaster Khan the last time Shorveer met the younger one, and he replied by saying that he met a Grandmaster yesterday because he was supposed to get him an armor suit but instead he was rude to him. Was beaten to get an armor. But the knight gets mad at the little one because the storage was already checked, and even though the marks were there, the Grandmaster definitely left the place. No one noticed Grandmaster Khan, and he disappeared only after meeting the younger one, which makes him wonder whether the younger one ever saw the Grandmaster after that or not.